Many of us fall prey to spending a little too much time on our phones, social media, or shows. 5 minutes turns to 20 minutes, 20 minutes turns to an hour, and it's only a matter of time before guilt sets in and we start thinking that we probably should have been more productive with our time. So if getting distracted is something that you struggle with, here are 7 steps that you can take to help your situation. Step number 1, think about what's important to you. James chapter 4, verse 14. Whereas you do not know what will happen tomorrow, for what is your life? It is even a vapor that appears for a little time and then vanishes away. In this passage, James is telling Christians that they don't know the future or what will happen tomorrow. And then he tells them that life is likened to a vapor of water, in the sense that a vapor quickly appears and then is gone. You see, James here explains to us a very sobering reality of life, that life happens fast and that we will soon meet our death. You see, we as people tend to procrastinate sometimes, and we often choose to put off meaningful tasks in the hopes that we can get to them later. But when we put off these important things to do for a day, a week, month, or year, we make the dangerous assumption that we will have enough time to accomplish those things. So when the time comes and we start getting distracted from doing something important, we need to remember that our time, our focus, and our strength to do those things are limited. So you need to reflect, because whether you know it or not, these resources are being used for something, whether or not it's important. I mean, yeah, in this video, I can give you tips on what to do if you get distracted, but overall, it'll be your drive and your sense of purpose that will actually get you to do something. So this first step is important, and it's to identify why you want to overcome distraction. And you do that by looking at what's actually important to you and worth your limited time. Step number 2, identify if things need to be in your life. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 23. All things are lawful, but not all things are helpful. In this passage, Paul is telling the church of Corinth that while they are able to do certain things, not everything they do is actually beneficial or helpful. So understand that while we do many things throughout our day, those things may or may not be advantageous to us. So if they aren't, it would probably be wise for us to limit or cut off those things. However, please note that there are times when distractions may actually be good for us. And the reason why is because if a task requires a lot of focus and energy, resting or watching something can possibly act as refreshment for our bodies and minds. So don't automatically write off shows and social media, because the issue is not in watching and scrolling, but rather it's when these things take priority over more important tasks. So remember how the passage says all things are lawful, but not all things are helpful? What it's essentially saying is that while you are free to do certain things, it doesn't mean those things are actually helping you. You see, step 1 in this video is to see what's important, and step 2 is to see if the things in your life either help your goals or hurt them. And once you determine what's hurtful, move on to step number 3. Don't make it easier to mess up. Romans chapter 13, verse 14. But put on the Lord Jesus Christ and make no provision for the flesh to fulfill its lusts. In this passage, Paul is telling the Roman church to clothe themselves with Jesus or act like he would. And then Paul says to not make provisions or supply care for the flesh to fulfill its lusts. And what I want you to pay attention here is this idea of providing care for our lusts. You see, when we do something that's wrong or give into a distraction over and over again, what we end up doing is creating a habit or pathway to continue doing that thing. And what becomes an issue is when we have all these bad habits established, but we do nothing about them. So this is what it can look like. We sit down and position ourselves to get something done, but then we get a text, we respond, and we go back to our home screen and we see Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube, and then we scroll and scroll. And we put our phone down, but then we get another text, or we need to change our song, and then we enter into this dilemma of needing to get things done, but always having our attention divided. And the reason why this happens many times is because, like this passage in Romans says, we make provisions for our lusts, and we make it easier for us to get distracted. So what you need to do is to identify what things distract you, and then to take steps to eliminate or limit those distractions. And on an equally important note, identify what things have aided you in being productive, and then incorporate more of those into your weekly schedule. So if your phone's a distraction, find the apps you're spending way too much time on and add limits to them, and then have a trusted friend or family member change the passcode on your phone so that it locks you out of the app after a certain time. Or even consider getting rid of that app entirely and put a code on your phone that makes it to where you aren't allowed to download apps without the passcode. The idea is to start identifying and closing off harmful pathways that have distracted you in the past. And once you've done this, start thinking of all the times that you've been able to be productive and to identify why you are able to be more productive. For me, I'm more productive when I'm out of my house, when I'm with company, and when I have deadlines. So I tend to write impact scripts at a coffee shop, and then I'll invite friends who I know also need to be productive so that it motivates me to be productive when I'm with them. And when I'm at the coffee shop, I'll schedule something afterwards, like picking up my brother from school or meeting with a friend, so that it sets the tone in my mind that my time is limited. So really think, are you making it easier for you to get distracted by allowing things in your life that aren't helping? And could you possibly add more things into your schedule that have helped you to be more productive in the past? And as a warning, should you identify something that has distracted you, the worst thing you could do is nothing. Because if you do nothing, you're just making it easier for you to fall in the future. Step number 4, be thankful for the things that you have to do. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 18. In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. In this passage, Paul is telling the church of Thessalonica to always be thankful because it's God's desire for us to be thankful in all circumstances. And the reason why this is so important when it comes to being distracted is because we tend to avoid the things that we don't like. So if you're dreading your essay or homework or that assignment, of course you're gonna put it off, especially if you have a phone with games you can play and shows you can watch. Naturally, we lean towards things that are enjoyable or make us happy. And if that's the case, we need to use this to our advantage and reframe our minds to see that thing we need to do as a blessing as opposed to something that we have to do. The key here is to switch the perspective and to develop a mind that becomes more grateful. And this is where I should warn you of the dangers of complaining. You see, when we complain, we bemoan our circumstance and blame, and essentially give in to a negative attitude of reluctance. But the Bible tells us to instead be thankful in every situation. And when gratitude is sincere, the mind shifts, and we begin to see that thing that we want to put off as a blessing. So many days, I start my morning with a walk, and I'll just thank God for what I've been given. And it gives peace to my heart. And now I see my life being full of blessings from God, as opposed to being overwhelmed with obligations that I have to fulfill. So for you, next time you start feeling like you don't want to do something, really think of all the reasons why you should be thankful for that assignment or project. And ask God to shift your mind into seeing and appreciating what's been given to you. Step number 5. Surround yourself with like-minded people. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 to 10. 2 are better than 1, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, one will lift up his companion. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up. In this passage, King Solomon, who had God-given wisdom, made the observation that 2 people are better than 1, because if one falls, the other can lift him up. So note that while there are times when we feel motivated to do well and are encouraged to work harder, the time will come when the fire in our hearts begin to diminish, and we're left with the weight and stress of getting things done. And one thing that has helped me enormously in the past with this is being encouraged by my family and friends. So many times I'll work out with my best friend and my brothers, and like I said before, I'll go to coffee shops with my friends or my girlfriend, and they'll ask about the script I'm writing. And then I'll be encouraged by their words to keep going. And as a side note, be aware of the kind of company you keep, because you'll heavily be influenced by who they are and what they prioritize. So I'd encourage you to surround yourself with people that you want to be like, and then to try to make it a point to regularly see them or even work together. For me, I need to regularly hang out with my best friend because his presence, his work ethic, and his love for God reignites my own heart for God. And when there were times when I felt weak and unmotivated, I'd bring it up, and he'd encourage me to keep going. And we've been doing that for each other for over 10 years. So I can't emphasize enough the value of having someone to catch you when you fall. Because while we as people can have moments of strength, we all too often have seasons of weariness. And having people who love you and have a heart to catch you when you fall is honestly one of the greatest blessings God can give to someone. And if you feel like you don't have people like that, pray. Ask God for friends, learn to be a friend, and start taking steps to invest in that. And there's a video in the description below where we cover the topic of making good friends. Step number 6, create and build holy habits. Luke chapter 5, verse 16. So he himself often withdrew into the wilderness and prayed. In this passage, we see here that Jesus made it a point to regularly go into the wilderness to pray. And I should note here that Jesus left to pray during pretty significant parts of his life. In Matthew chapter 4, Jesus went to the wilderness to pray and fast before he began his ministry. In Luke chapter 6, verses 12 to 13, Jesus prayed all night on a mountain before he chose his disciples and named them apostles. And in Matthew 26, verse 36, we see Jesus praying in the Garden of Gethsemane before his crucifixion. So notice how Jesus paired quiet time in prayer with big events in his ministry. And we can follow his example here in a similar way and compare something holy and productive with something else we normally do. For myself personally, I've paired morning walks with prayers of thanksgiving. So every time I walk in the morning, I just start thinking of all the things that I ought to be thankful for, and then I thank God for them. When I was in Japan, whenever I used the train to go towards Yokohama, I would immediately read 3 chapters in my Bible. And I have specific necklaces and bracelets that are all connected to people that I need to pray for. So whenever I put them on, I pray for them. So I called this concept of pairing a spiritual activity to a normal task, holy habits. And I believe that we can do the same thing to be productive. For Jesus, he thought, there's a big event coming up. I need to pray. So see how he connected the two things. So for you, identify what good things that you need to do and then try to connect them to things that you normally do. My best friend pairs brushing his teeth to doing pull-ups and push-ups. My brother pairs working out at the gym to talking to at least one person about God. And my girlfriend often pairs her drive home from work with her time to pray. The key here is for you to look at all the things that you want to accomplish, to break those things into smaller actionable items, and then to pair those things with everyday tasks that you normally do. That way, when you do those daily tasks, you're reminded, oh, I should do that thing that I need to do. And should you succeed in filling your life with holy habits, as time passes, you'll find that you'll slowly start moving your life into a more healthy direction. And now to our final step. Step number 7, get continued direction. 2 Samuel chapter 5, verse 19. So David inquired of the Lord, saying, shall I go up against the Philistines? Will you deliver them into my hand? And the Lord said to David, go up, for I will doubtless deliver the Philistines into your hand. Now look at 2 Samuel chapter 5, verse 23. Therefore David inquired of the Lord, and he said, you shall not go up. Circle around behind them and come upon them in front of the mulberry trees. In this passage, David asks God if he can go against the Philistines in battle, and then God tells him to go up. But then in a different battle, David asks God if he should go up, and then God tells him not to. And I love how dependent David was in getting direction from God, and how he continued to get counsel and wisdom in this passage. And it's a lesson that I think we all need to remember as we try to battle distraction in our lives. Like David, we also need God and ought to go to him regularly in order to get direction. David was given yeses and nos, and we can get similar wisdom as we seek God first. And the reason why I'm saying all of this is because while I've listed different steps that you can apply to your life, the reality is that I don't know your specific situation. And specific situations call for specific wisdom that I know that I can't give you, which is why I'm pointing you to God, who can help you with your specific struggles. So as a final encouragement, remember James chapter 4, verse 8, where James tells us, draw near to God and he will draw near to you. This is a promise that we can all hold on to. So as you look at what distracts you the most, bring it to God and ask him for specific wisdom on what should be done. Okay? So if you find yourself getting a little distracted, don't forget these 7 steps. Think about what's important to you. Identify if things need to be in your life. Don't make it easier to mess up. Be thankful for the things you have to do. Surround yourself with like-minded people. Create and build holy habits and get continued direction. Remember, it's the diligent small steps that'll eventually lead you to victory. And as you move forward, grow in gratitude and smile more, because you have everything you need to win this battle in your life. And on top of all of that, Jesus loves you.